Welcome to another edition of the SpareTime podcast. And this episode, we have our special guest from Riding the Ditch fame, Thomas Grose, who looks like he's just been dragged out of an event to come and speak to us. Is that true?
Cheers, mate. Thanks for that introduction. No, streaming at the moment. There's a 24-hour marathon on for St Andrew's Hospice here at Shipley, so I apologise for the noise and that where I am, but that's why I look a bit rough, because we just had a slight streaming incident, but everything seems to be all right.
Now, we might have another slight streaming incident with this, the way it's going at the moment, but never mind. I'll kick it off to Ben to ask the first question.
Yeah, so obviously it has taken forever. We've been sitting in here for about 2 hours trying to fix it. But obviously, on the notes you sent me, you said that you joined Manchester YBC after a not-so-great footy career. Now, I'd love to ask you about it, but I've just got back from Sunderland getting battered by Middlesbrough 4-0. It's not really on my agenda. What I want to be talking about is football. So what we'll start with is, how did you get into bowling?
Well, my dad and uncle and cousins and that all did bowling, so it was just a natural progression to go into bowling, really. Especially like once like I got over like the football craze, what every probably young boy has. Just went straight into bowling as another sport, and went from there. Joined Manchester YBC, fell in love with the sport. I obviously was going and watching my dad bowl anyway when I was younger, when he's bowling things like North West Fives, all the tournaments was he doing and stuff. But obviously you hear from stories from people that he's bowling with when he was younger, and it's just like, yeah, I want to taste of that.
Yeah, I mean, bowling's always fun. I mean, you know, I've bowled for 9 years. You've bowled for, how many years have you bowled for?
Well, I had an 8-year gap. I reckon I bowled probably 6 years, probably before that.
Mm-hmm.
And then we've been back, 2 years? So probably about 8 years in as a whole.
Mm-hmm. So we're about the same. I mean, my dad and your dad have been bowling a lot longer than I've been alive. So, you know, they've got more stories to tell than I have. But I mean, what I'm really interested in is Riding the Ditch, okay? Because, you know, you see Bowl TV, you see all these big events and, you know, big streaming platforms in America, and, you know, you sort of brought that to England. Now, I want to know, what gave you the idea to start Riding the Ditch?
Pretty much that, in all honesty. There was clearly something missing in the media in England. We've got TenPinBen that was doing reports and stuff, but how many young people read reports, videos and stuff like that is more that we engage with? So that's what I was looking at, and I was like, yeah, let's see what I can do. I've got a degree in TV and radio, and like obviously I've got a passion in bowling and I've got a passion in media, so it's just a natural progression to join the two together. But yeah, then I had all the equipment, so it was just easy enough just to get it going, speak to a couple of people and just get the streams going, get something going. And you know, I've seen that people are getting involved with like when people miss 5 pins or when people leave a lily and that, so it's clearly going in the right direction, and hopefully we just get a few more people into the sport, because that's what the main goal is. Because you look at away from the clubs like I'm here at Shipley at the moment, Altrincham, Sunderland up near Hughes and that. If you go to any of the big name chains, a lot of it's pins on strings, no oil on the lanes. It's just a fun thing, and I want to show that it's more than just a pastime; it's a sport as well.
Mm-hmm.
How do you select which events that you're going to stream? Because obviously there's lots of different tournaments and events around the country all the time. Do you have a criteria for selecting which ones you're going to turn up at?
The ones I bowl at, or the ones that my dad's bowling at, or something like that at the moment, just pure and simply because I don't take anything out of it. It's all my own funding, all that stuff. I don't want to put money on the bowler, you know what I mean? it's already an expensive sport as it is, so it's more just what's nearby, who's letting me know about the tournaments as well, because that's another thing that's quite hard in the UK, knowing about the tournaments. But yeah, that's the main criteria. Obviously, on an ideal world, I try and cover all the sports, all the tournaments, but it's kind of hard. And yeah, that's pretty much it.
I mean, starting something like this, you need to make sure that you're going to have enough people to watch it, or else you'll end up spending a lot of time talking to yourself. And I know, it's not easy. I mean, we've spent about an hour today just setting up this simple part of the podcast, and on my end, your speech is slightly ahead of you of the video. So I don't know whether it's going to work out right. It might look like a low budget martial arts film or something in the end. But these are sort of typical things that we've got to cope with. So how do you how do you promote riding the ditch? How do you make sure that you're going to get enough viewers to make it worth you doing it?
Oh, well, as soon as I know that I'm doing a tournament, you get it out as much as you can. You try and ask the tournament managers when they're putting the stuff up to say that obviously it's going to be streamed on Riding the Ditch. We're getting there now where there's enough people that are tuning in, they're now listening to when there's the next stream on and stuff like that, or there's enough people tuning in with like things like Lily's. Lily leaves pictures and then they're going and clicking on the channel and going, oh right, well they've got a stream going on in, next weekend. Like for example, we're doing a 24-hour marathon thing here now. It's like, but then if you're doing the big events, so like the English Open, you're getting people sharing it with the family anyway. So you get the bowlers telling the families the thing. Then you've got their work colleagues that are getting on it as well. And next thing you know, it's word of mouth that's going round. And then obviously if you put in the tags in on YouTube and stuff like that, bowling and stuff like. The last stream that I did, which was the senior Scottish Open, I had a lad that was in the chat talking from Oregon, and we was having a bit of a conversation going there as well, with commentary and him in the chat box. So it's getting about. I think people are now finding out about it a lot easier than what it was originally when I first started. You've got to persevere. You've got to persevere with having the low views at the start, and then word of mouth will get round.
Yeah, I think, it's something I certainly appreciated, because once I was supposed to take Ben to a tournament in Barnsley and I was ill, so his mum took him, but I could sit at home and watch how many things he was missing whilst I was just sort of sitting at home not feeling well. So, it's a great service. But what do you think is the overall benefit of riding the ditch to bowling as a sport?
Well, it's what you call it. It's brought a bit more of an atmosphere back. One thing that I really noticed when I come back bowling after the gap is that a lot of people were taking it serious. Was taking the sport too serious. Mm-hmm. And yes, you need an element of that if you want to go and progress to the top level. But at the same time, you need to remember why you got into bowling. Mm-hmm. You was there for the enjoyment, and that's the thing that I think I've picked up on the most through doing Riding the Ditch for the last year and a half, is a lot more people are starting to enjoy bowling again and having banter on the lanes than it being bowl a ball, be deadly quiet. And yeah, you had it in the seniors because they had it when they was younger, and I think they've gone past the point of going, bang, yeah, I'm really focusing on it, and they've gone back to the enjoyment. But I was watching a lot of youth stuff and like adult events, and you could see it. Nobody was talking to one another. He was being really, really serious, and I wanted to bring back that enjoyment level back to the UK.
Mm-hmm. For me, obviously you've seen me. I'm a bit of I play up to the cameras. I do enjoy having a bit of personality. But I remember especially, I don't know if it was the same when you were bowling youth, But I remember YBC's like Whitstable, Crawley, used to have the Oggies at nationals all the time. And I used to hate it as a kid because I'm like 6, 7, and I'm like, oh, these annoying people are shouting. Looking back at it now, I would die for that. And I tried to bring Oggie back at last nationals, but my coach told me I wasn't allowed, which was a bit unfortunate.
See, like, when I was younger at Blackburn, we won Club of the Year through things like that. So, Club of the Year criteria back then was like nice dress and all that stuff, and then the encouragement. So, one of the things that was like bang on nailed into us when we was younger was making sure you encourage the other bowlers, especially at nationals. So it's like, yeah, I could have been bowling in the higher age category. Right, but you go and support the younger boys and girls. So we was getting behind and shouting Oggie and stuff like that. And you could see the enjoyment come back into their faces. So they could have one bad shot, but on the next one they could go and throw a 9 or a strike or something like that. And the cheering and stuff like that, you're getting the enjoyment. You hear about it in, for example, football, right? The 12th man, in bowling, if you've got a 5-man team and you've got 5 or 6 of your other people from your YBC cheering you on, that's your 6th man, that's putting another 50, 60 pins on your score, and it's massive.
I mean, it's like what you said. I mean, it's the whole reason that we started this podcast. I said to my dad one day, I was like, I want to start a podcast, and my dad sort of went, well, you said this before, and I said it to you, and I remember texting you in the school playground. And I was texting you saying, I want to do this, and you were giving me a bit of advice. And I think the whole reason I wanted to start SpareTime podcast was because, in the PBA you see a few people like Cal Treat giving it this, giving it that, and and you enjoy watching it. But a lot of it is you'll see people bowling, and there's not much personality behind it. But obviously behind every bowler there's a person, and I think bowling, it would be a lot easier to market bowling and a lot easier to get more eyes on bowling if you saw more of the personalities behind the bowlers,
Yeah, that's it. If you're somebody outside of bowling that wants to maybe, sponsor bowling or something like that, you're not going to sponsor something where it's got no views, you've got no one watching, nobody engaging with the sport, no population, because your brand isn't going to get out there, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Right? So if you look at the people that have got sponsorship from bowling companies, they've got a following on social media, right? Away from the PBA bowlers, but even the PBA bowlers have got that anyway, right? They've got a following on social media. They've got personality on the lanes. They're the ones that people want to watch. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So I'm not saying that you need to big it up and be really aggressive and stuff like that, like type thing, but show the enjoyment, right? A lot of people take it too seriously, get too hard on themselves, and I'm definitely one for this, in all fairness, in myself. You've only got to look at some of the ESPT results, you've seen them. Yeah, exactly. To see that you can get too harsh on yourself, you get really tense and stuff like that. You enjoy it, you lose, you're throwing the ball nice and stuff like that, and that's what I think. We need more team. In my opinion, we need more team events in the UK. You look at that Pro Bowl event that you've just been at, right, over in France. You look at the Swedish leagues, the PBA league that's just been on. That's the thing that I think more people would tune into, and more people would engage in, and more bowlers would enjoy than singles events. Mm-hmm.
I mean, I mentioned it. I've said it to my coach quite a few times. We bowled. There was one competition up in Sunderland, which was a Baker event, and I've practiced Baker with County Durham before, and I've been practicing with their men's team in the squad. But I only ever bowled one competition doing Baker. And now a lot of people don't like Baker, but I absolutely love Baker, and I mean, I bowled on TV in France in a Baker system, and just, even there, I was put with a team of people who I'd never met, didn't even speak the same language as them, but through the bowling, you just, you see passion. I mean, when the TV and stuff come out, you'll see it. There's passion, there's sort of, you bond after spending weeks together, and especially in a YBC, if you got, if you know, oh, this person's just missed this frame, and then you'll focus on picking them up and sparing the next one, it just provides such a better watch than, oh, well, he's doing a bit bad, but I don't care because he's not affecting me,
Well, it goes back to the point with the main reason why I started riding the ditch was to put people back into bowling, or get new bowlers into bowling. It's like, you can walk into Altrincham Bowl and the amount of youth that you see in there after school that are non-bowlers is unreal. Mm-hmm. Now, if you've got an atmosphere in a YBC where everybody's in their own shell, don't want to talk to one another, what's the encouragement for that bowler to go back? There isn't any. If you've got a YBC where everybody's talking to one another, encouraging one another, having great banter and stuff like that, that's gonna bring that bowler back, because they've already got an interest in the sport from going there in the first place. So that to me is what we was missing, and we're definitely getting it back. I think wait and see the counties. You've got the inter senior counties at the point of filming next week, and then you've got the adult counties at the start of November. Both will be streaming mad in the ditch. I'll plug it. But watch the atmosphere in the bowlers, and I think you'll see a new side of bowling that if you've not watched any of like PBA League or Swedish League or all like that, that will be a thing that a lot of people like.
Mm-hmm. The reason he enjoyed bowling the Baker event in the Bowling Promotion Tour is that it limited his chances of looking like a muppet on television. So,
well, I didn't want to say.
Fortunately, he didn't. So
nearly did.
No. You did okay.
I had a moment.
So, obviously you stream lots of different events, lots of different bowlers at these events. Do you ever get any objections to people being on the stream? And if so, how do you handle something like that?
Well, no, not really, because you make sure that the tournament managers told everyone, right? There's only been one occasion, which was foster kids at the Altrincham Classics. I don't really want to say any more than that because obviously there's the GDPR behind it. But it was just a case of don't have them on the stream. We put the stream down, put the stream back up. But yeah, you tell the tournament managers, they get it out and about. But as long as they're okay with it, most bowlers in the UK want it because it's promoting the sport. And now, especially in the Team England code of conduct, you're signing it away anyway. As soon as you sign the code of conduct for photos and videos and that to be taken. I know when I've done Triple Crowns, Scotland, Ireland, and that have done it with their people already. But you just make sure everybody knows straight at the start. So 9 times out of 10 you get. Well, they know anyway because you're putting the cameras up, but you get the tournament manager over a microphone or shouting out to say, it's filming, and you just try and stay away from that bowler. So, I put cameras up pretty much all across the centre, so you just stay away from it if need be.
Mm-hmm. I mean, you came up with that really well, because actually my next question is, you got the opportunity to stream it was the Youth Triple Crown in Scotland. One, how did you get the opportunity to do that? And two, what was it like having the opportunity to be able to go to Scotland and film that event?
Well, that one's interesting, because I wasn't personally there for that one. I had Chris Carver, who was mint for me, that took my tripod and brought his tablet and basically put up live streams for me on Facebook for the Youth Triple Crown in Scotland. But the year before I did it in Barnsley, and obviously on that one we did the team and the Masters, and it's mint the Youth Triple Crown, because that's the one moment where the kids who got the chance to wear their nation spirit, and especially in the team events. The team events are meant for it. But yeah, no, it's great because especially in Scotland they absolutely love it and they want to try and get it as much as they possibly can, and they can't doubt the Scottish at all. I mean, obviously in England, I'm English as it is, so it's quite easier to get tournaments going in down here because majority of the bowlers as it is already. But up in Scotland, they've been amazing. They want to try and get as much of it up there as they possibly can. And in 2024, I'll definitely be up there as much as I possibly can.
Okay, you have multiple Riding the Ditch ambassadors, both players and coaches. So how do you how do you pick the ambassadors and how do people get involved?
Basically, just when I first started, it was basically the ones that were gonna put the brand out a bit. So obviously, it was dead easy to put my dad on the Team England senior bowler. He's going to get the brand about. I've got Andy Gillespie on the Scottish senior bowler, well respected across Europe pretty much. And Andy as well has put the badge pretty much all over his bowling equipment, so you can walk past his back without seeing the Riding the Ditch logo. That was effectively how it was. Now obviously the brand's established a bit more. It's going to be a case of probably a bit more nitpicking, but it was at first seeing who could put the brand out, and if I could help them out, I'm going to help them out as well. So yeah, that's basically what it was.
Mm-hmm. I mean, as well, you posted about this yesterday, and I was absolutely. I had a mini, how do you explain it? A mini sort of, not, I wouldn't say heart attack, but a mini sort of spurt of interest, because you posted about the World Bowling League that literally came up yesterday, and I thought, I'm bringing you on. I've got to speak about this, and I had some first impressions, but I want to know what were your first impressions on the World Bowling League? Because I know you watched the keynotes and stuff like that.
I watched the first 7 minutes and I was gripped, right? Because what he was saying is basically what I've been saying in the household about what bowling needed. It needed massive sponsorship. It needed a big following. It needed maybe not a combined rankings, but the PBA definitely needed to be ranked, and we needed something for over here in Europe, sort of like golf. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And then you could make a combined ranking from that. But I totally agreed with every point that he pretty much had. Maybe there needs to be a look at centre-wise with it. With what a couple of people have mentioned on Facebook, but I think it's a massive improvement in bowling, from what bowling massively needed.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I looked at it and I agree. Everything that I saw from it, I thought, this is good. I mean, I don't know how it's going to work, but if it works, this is going to be, it'll change the game forever. The only thing that I did have a bit of concern about was that they wanted to take away the machinery and put pin girls and pin boys there. I don't think that'll pass health and safety, but if it somehow does, that'll be interesting.
I thought that was weird.
Yeah.
I thought that's going to make a game go longer as well.
Yeah, that's true as well.
I was like, that's pretty strange, but I think it's because they'll try and put it in arenas. Mm-hmm. If you look at all the photos were arenas. Mm-hmm. Right? But I mean, you can still put machine in there. Easy.
I mean, I said that about if you look at darts, for example. I know darts is big, and you're a City fan, so we'll use the Etihad as an example. You could stick up a bowling lane in the Etihad, with a screen behind it, and put people around on the pitch. You could put people on the sides. You can still fit 50,000 people in there, easy to watch it. If you stuck it up against the wall, and I mean, as far as it goes towards marketing it, I mean, I was watching the keynotes and they mentioned about how for every country that the person will be watching it in, they've got a way to change the advertisements. And I think for an advertiser, that's the perfect type of thing that you want. And if they can pull it off, then it will literally just change the game.
Oh yeah, that's massive, because you don't even have that in football or out like that really. And the technology is there. AI technology is there. You have it already in like video on demand stuff. So you could be watching something on your TV, right, and be watching it on your phone, and you'll notice that the adverts are different, because what they want you to do is they want you to go and click on the link or go and Google that on your phone, right? Whereas the ones on the TV are more like a supermarket trying to get you in the shop or something like that. It's not a there and then thing. So the technology's been there. The technology's been there for a few years, in all honesty. But yeah, I think it's a good idea that, and it's just like little things like having the app for just rankings. I couldn't tell you who's number one in the world in bowling. Mm-hmm. I could have a guess, but I couldn't tell you who's number one.
Mm-hmm. I mean, obviously, there's a debate about it. It could be Anthony Simonson, could be Jason Mamoni, could be EJ Taka. I mean, it's a debate. But one thing that I did think, you look at ESBT, you look at the banter that goes on there. If you start ranking some of these English bowlers, there's going to be some banter about, oh, I'm higher than you in the rankings. And I'm so ready for that.
But the metrics for ranking the bowlers is not sort of the highest average or whatever. It looks at lots of different things, strike rate,
topography,
and spare rate, and all sorts of different things. So it's they say that the algorithm is going to be quite transparent. But I think it might be transparent, but I think it's going to be difficult for anybody to actually work out sort of on the go whether they're doing, whether that person is better or not. They're going to have to wait for the results to be produced. So I didn't know whether that was maybe a little bit too complex.
The typography and all that stuff was a bit complex when they was going on about that.
Mm-hmm.
I think I understand it a little bit, why they tried to go down that road. Because obviously when people go, oh, it's lefty centre, it's easy on the left. Mm-hmm. Which, let's be honest, when you're on a sports pattern, you've still got to repeat the same shot. Mm-hmm. You could have nobody on the right and 20 people on the left. You've still got to hit your same mark, or there or thereabouts. Nobody's the same mark, bang on for 12 shots. You know what I mean? You've only got to look at the PBA for that when they've got the shot tracker on. But yeah, normally if you've got a shot, you've got probably about 3 ball margin. Let's be fair. On a sports pattern, that is anyway. So I think it is a bit unfair when people say, "Oh yeah, it's a lefty centre," or "It's easy on the left," even though you might have heard me joking about it on the streams. But that's how it is. You just got to deal with it. There's centres out there that might benefit more of a right-hander, but because there's more right-handed than left-handed people in the world anyway, it's just something you've got to deal with. There's some bowlers out there that will prefer it being burnt up more than it being dry. Mm-hmm. I think that bit needs probably to be taken out of the ranking, in my personal opinion. A score's a score. You've got to just go by that, and maybe you go off events of, I don't know, US Masters, English Open. I don't know. You choose your events on what gets more ranking points, than what a EBT in Madrid with 90 people instead of 290 people participating in would get. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think if he can pull it off, if he can make this work, it'll make a massive difference, because he said there's 150 million people worldwide take part in bowling, and I think there was I watched the whole keynote, which was about an hour long, and at one point they showed a graph about I think it was indicating the amount of money that was in different sports, and I think,
Oh yeah, when it had tennis at the side.
yeah,
Yeah, I saw that bit.
and football was right at the top, or soccer as the Americans call it, and there was the NFL, and it basically came down, and bowling was like minuscule. It was just virtually non-existent. And I think if you can attract the sponsorship and get the TV audiences involved with it, get people more interested in bowling with some of the concepts that he's coming up with, that could definitely change the game. But I quite like the idea that he was looking at holding these events at iconic places around the world, Las Vegas, Paris, London, New York. I think that's pretty important because that just adds a little bit to the whole game. And I really do hope that it works because I think for everybody involved in the bowling world, it's going to be massive. And there's going to be certain people who, if it does work, there's going to be certain people who benefit from it, and it's going to change people's lives.
Oh, easily. You've only got to look at F1 as your prime example. What tennis a fair few years ago, before the Tennis Association sorted out. F1 massively, especially with Born to Survive. There's people that have got into F1 through that documentary. Now that's the thing that caught my eye the most when I was watching that thing, is the way that was going on about the social media. Right? We all do it. We're all thingy to it. All across Europe, PBA events, all right, they've got a social media team behind them. But all across Europe, near enough 99% of the tournaments is a spreadsheet posted as a photo. Not many people are going to engage with that photo, unless you're a bowler. If it's something that catches your eye, if it's a video, if it's a really nice looking graphic, if they tune in for it for 5-10 seconds, it's 5-10 seconds more than what a spreadsheet would.
I mean, go on.
And I've tried on a couple of events to do it, but when you're streaming and stuff, you just don't get the time to be bang on it, and that's where I don't know how much I can actually say at this, but I'm going to say it anyway. I know they're trying to change this in the BTBA with communications. So obviously in the past it's been a one-man team, and we all know how delayed the BTBA website is on publishing stuff. But they're trying to build a team, right? I think you've got to try and stick with them. I don't know how well it'll be. I don't know how well it'll go off. But there's only improvement really, because it can't go any worse. And hopefully we can do stuff like graphics, videos. That's where I would come in. Reports and stuff that's already out there. If we can get that all in one system, and especially in the public thing, if we get the SEO going and stuff like that, that's where. All right, I don't know how many people saw it the other day, but it's little things like the Team England announcement when they did the digital pack. Originally, that was put as a TenPinBen link. Now, for me, that should have easily been on the BTBA website first straight off the bat. The BTBA website is Team England's website, pretty much. Right? So that pack should have been put on there. It shouldn't have been a link to TenPinBen. If we want sponsors getting into the finger, the thing that they will look at is how good is our search engine optimization, SEO, right? If we've not got people clicking onto our link as a click-through rate, right, and bounce rate, I imagine is pretty low anyway. On the website, I'm not too sure. I wouldn't know. But if we've not got that, sponsors won't look twice at us, right? And that's where things need to change in it. And in all respects to BTBA and the guy that's trying to create change now, that's where he's trying to happen. And I think bowlers that have probably put a bit of stick on it, give it a bit, give it a year and a half, and see if it changes. I'm definitely need to stick in that ball and not spout my mouth off as early as what I do. I'll hold my hands up to that now anyway. But yeah, that's where it needs to change, and we're on the right steps. Riding the ditch is getting involved in it, you know, and I thought TenPinBen's already been involved in the BTBA. So that's where, when you're going back about getting views as well for riding the ditch, now that's where it'll help me out if we start sharing links and stuff like that on them pages. I already put the BTBA logo on there and stuff, and trying to share as much of the BTBA stuff that gets put out, like for example the BTBA tour. That's the thing that come back this year after COVID, which I think's been mint, because it's got people, instead of having that massive jump to the ESBT, which is a sports pattern, it's got them on challenge patterns where they can progress and then get onto that sports pattern, which is massive, and that's what's great for the sport, you know what I mean? But yeah, that's where, when you're going on about this World Bowling League and they're going on about like social media and all that around it, that's where it's massive, and that's where I was more gripped by that stuff. Obviously, being in the media myself, I was more gripped by that than I'm actually going on about the rankings and the funding part, because that's what bowling, especially in Europe, that is what bowling has missed massively.
Okay, yeah, I mean, it's a great opportunity, and we just got to watch the space and just wait and see what happens. But just one final question for you, Tom. What's the future for riding the ditch? Where do you want to take it?
Oh well, I'd love for it to go back on Sky Sports or something like that. You know what I mean? I imagine that, you know, back in its glory day in UK bowling, you had things like Silk Cup and stuff like that was on Sky Sports anyway. So it'd be great to have it back on there. You know, Weber Cup's back on Sky Sports. It's like, and if riding the ditch is a step to that, then that's great. You know, you could even go, you know, myself wise, commentator on it. You know what I mean? But as riding the ditch, if we could just get more people getting into the sport and the sport being more widely known on a bigger scale in the UK, that's the thing that I'd be more proud of, right? Than any commercial gain around like that. I want to see this sport back in its glory day. I want to walk in the centre, right, and it had bowlers in it. You know, I'd love to go around the places, around the UK, and it not be bowlers saying that it's an hour and a half journey to the nearest centre, right? It'd be great if we could have centres in every big city again, like what it used to be. And obviously we're a massive step away from that, but I do think that we're on the right direction again. We've had our massive decline, we're now back on an upward trajectory. That's what I believe anyway. It might be a deluded belief, but I do believe that we're going back on the right direction. You've only got to look at Southampton's TenPinBen, for example. That's now survived. I don't think that's got anything to do with me, in all honesty. But there's bowlers down there. Dorset's always had a great bowling population, and I think little things like that, it's like, you know, it's great for the sport. And if you get people, how many people, you must have it, Ben, when you walk in a bowling centre and it's open play, how many people do you get stood around watching you or asking you for tips and stuff like that?
I mean,
you get a few.
It happens every now and again, but Washington, you know, you'll have the odd few kids. I mean, when I bowl at Riverside, sometimes you get some people watching and asking for tips. I mean, in France it was something different, like you were signing stuff for people, and I mean that was mental. But usually, I'll go into Riverside and it'll literally just be people practicing, and that's it. There's no one else there most weekdays.
See, I think with Manchester being how Manchester is, it's a bit different, especially in Altrincham. So it's like you get a fair few footballers in Altrincham. So probably about 3 months ago now, you had Jesse Lingard in there, and he got put into the VIP section because the league was on a Thursday night, and he's like, "Oh, can you not put me at the side of the league?" He's genuinely interested in bowling, right? He wants to improve his own bowling game to beat the likes of Marcus Rashford and that he goes in with Ravel Morrison and stuff. All right, I might be picking names out and doing how's that, you know what I mean, with who goes in Altrincham Bowl. But what he did on that one night when he was in on a Thursday night, he grabbed one of the youth bowlers, right, took him into the VIP section because he was like, I can't get over how much that guy looks like Jesse Lingard. And we was all like, it is Jesse Lingard. So he come out, hearing the conversation, let on to him. Honestly, real sound guy. One of the nicest, probably footballers you will ever have the chance to meet if you ever get the chance to meet him. He got hold of him, said to him, do you want to come into the VIP and show us all how to bowl? Right? Took him in, was having real good banter with him and everything. Ben, who it was that got brought in there, said, oh, there's no oil on these lanes, have a look at us outside on the league lanes. So he come out, he brought all his mates out with him, and genuinely he was asking all the bowlers for tips, you know, what's the high game, what's the high series. And if we can get bowling a little bit more on the social media side, I think they will pick up on it and go, oh, I can get onto this as a market point for them. It's going to be big for them as well if the sport takes off. Mm-hmm. So that's the next step. I think we're not that far away from it in all honesty. Mm-hmm. Right? But yeah, you've got people there that genuinely are interested in the sport, and like when that guy was saying in the World Bowlers League presentation, I would argue that he's up there with football in one of the most participated sports across the world. There's not many centres that you walk in they're empty. Mm-hmm.
Mm. We'll have to get Jesse Lingard on the podcast next week.
If you can get hold of him, mate. Honestly, what a sound guy. The way he come across when he was in football, I had a different opinion of him. After meeting him, right, I probably said 1 word, 2 words to him, right? But with what I saw him do with Ben, honestly, that guy deserves every bit of plaudits he can get. And I feel sorry for him in a football career point of view, because obviously his career hasn't been the best, right? Mm-hmm. But that guy is genuinely one of the nicest fellas on planet Earth, probably.
Right, okay, that's great. Well, Tom, we'd like to thank you for your time and for dragging you away from the world record attempt to knock down the most pins in 24 hours. Have I got that right? That is what you...
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah.
They need an average of 139 pins every 5 minutes.
Oh, God.
It is harder than it sounds.
Yeah.
The world record is 39,550. If they carry on the way they're going, they'll probably just miss out. But there's still time, there's plenty of time. They only started at 12 o'clock and it's 4 o'clock now. Well, 4 now.
Wow.
So yeah, I think they've got a good chance.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we wish them luck with that one. I think that after we finish this podcast, I think Ben's heading down in the direction of Shipley. So
I'm coming to say aye.
You may see him, you may do. But thanks again, Tom, and no doubt I'll see you at a tournament in the near future. But that's the end of this particular edition of the Spare Time podcast. If you've enjoyed watching it, subscribe with the link below, and we'll be doing more of these in the future. Yes, the link, that one. Thanks, Tom. See you later. Bye.
Bye.